Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm making two of my favorite desserts. Usually I have a lot of planning that goes into these videos, but this week these just happen to be desserts that I wanted to make, so I thought I might as well film them. Both of these desserts are easily made with items that you've got on hand. We're going to start out with a peach cobbler. Well, first of all, let me just say I'm making peach cobbler and a banana bread later in the video, but we'll start with the peach cobbler. And I take a fourth cup of butter and melt it in the pan, and I add a 1 cup of flour in a mixing bowl, and I'm going to mix that together with my baking powder, my salt, and my flour. And I will say that I ate this quite a bit growing up. This was about the only dessert that was ever in my house. And I think one of the reasons for that is that we lived very, very far away from any city. I grew up in Alaska, and so we were very far from any grocery store. And generally, my family did have a can of peaches, and we didn't have we never had fresh milk, but we did have evaporated milk. So I think my mom ended up making this with a mixture of evaporated milk, which you can do as well. She also had powdered milk, so maybe sometimes she would use that instead of the evaporated milk. But today I'm just going to use regular milk because I do have that in the fridge and that's on hand. And like I said, I don't ever have to purchase items for this because I always make sure that I do have a large can of peaches in my pantry so that I'm able to make this if I start to have a sweet tooth. Now, there's a southern variety of this peach cobbler, and that style of peach cobbler requires you to use all of the juice in the contents of the peaches. However, I don't really like mine that wet, so I'm going to drain out half the can of the peaches, and it'll produce a little bit drier of a cobbler. It's not dry, but it's just not as wet as the original recipe calls it to be. This is a really good recipe to have in your toolbox because you can use this basic recipe to make a variety of different cobblers. So if you wanted to do make this with cherries, or you wanted to use fresh picked huckleberries or anything like that, pretty much any fruit that you can think of that you would like to eat, you can add in here and make a cobbler with it. So I do like having this. It's a basic recipe and it's very inexpensive to make. I think it costs between about $3 and $3.50. You can get the large can of peaches for $1.84, Great Value brand at Walmart. Now when you purchase the peaches, make sure you do get in heavy syrup because we want these to be nice and sweet for the dessert. I really love peaches, and this is a great way to use them as well. If you have a lot of fresh peaches on hand, you're just going to have to make sure that you add a little bit more sugar to them, depending on how sweet they are. And it looks like I do have a lot of liquid left in here, so I'm just going to use a fork and get the peaches out because I really want to make sure that I don't have too much liquid in this cobbler this time. And then you just kind of spread these out. Sometimes peaches, you know, if they're fully ripe, you may not have to add very much sugar at all, actually. You'll just have to taste them and see what you think and kind of experiment a little bit. Okay, so this is good to go, but we're just going to go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on the top before we pop it in the oven. We're going to go ahead and bake it at 400 degrees for about 30 minutes, and this is what it looks like. And I always like to serve mine with a little bit of ice cream. You can also pour a little bit of evaporated milk over it if you like. It is a rich dessert, and that just really helps to balance it. I love this dessert. I hope you enjoy it. And if you make it, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. And since we're talking about cinnamon, I wanted to show you a new item that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I thought it was an amazing invention. It's got cinnamon mixed with sugar. Now, growing up, like I said, I rarely ever had any kind of desserts, but every now and then we would have a cinnamon sugar toast, and I do consider this a dessert for sure. And I actually realize my toast needs to get chopped a little bit so it can fit into the toaster. So anyhow, I love this concoction. It makes it a lot easier than having to actually do it yourself. It just takes toast, cinnamon sugar, and butter. And, you know, you could use this on a lot of different kinds of bread. They've got the fancy bread at Walmart that's only $1. They've got the brioche. They've got the French bread, which, as you probably know if you watch my channel, I absolutely love. And I've actually been eating the sesame French bread lately. But, ooh, this is a really, really delicious toast because it's really crispy. And, yeah, I love this. Absolutely love this. I was so excited when I saw this in the Dollar Tree, and I've been meaning to tell you guys about this, and this is the perfect video. Since I was using the cinnamon, I was reminded about that. So anyway, you guys, try this. Let me know if you like it, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It does help my channel so that I can continue to make more content for you. Anyhow, let's get on to the banana bread. I'm excited to make the banana bread. It sounds delicious. It's cold outside right now, and I've got some bananas that are getting really extra ripe. And this is a recipe I like to use because I generally have all of the items already in my pantry. Ingredients for this will be 3 ripe bananas, a cup of white sugar, 1 egg, a 1/4 cup melted butter, 1½ cups all-purpose flour, a teaspoon baking soda, and a teaspoon salt. I have to say, this made my house smell so good. It was just delicious smelling cooking. Anyway, I actually should have prepped my pan a little bit better than this. I should have put some flour in after I sprayed it down because a little bit got stuck in the pan, but no worries, I did eat that. I did just spoon it right out and I ate it. Anyway, this was the first loaf that I made, and I forgot to put nuts. I actually realized later on that I totally spaced that out, but that's okay. It was really good without nuts, and some people in my family don't like nuts anyway, so it worked out perfectly. And this was absolutely delicious. It's one of the easiest recipes that you can make. It just has a few ingredients, and it just always turns out really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and eat this. And now is not the time to be stingy with the butter, especially on banana bread. I just think banana bread and butter go perfectly together. Good morning, friends. It is Sunday morning, and usually Sunday morning is a day of rest in my house, or at least that's my end goal, is to make it a day of rest. And today I'm just going to make myself a nice cup of a black coffee because what goes better with Sunday than a dessert for breakfast? So I'm going to have banana bread for breakfast along with a nice cup of black coffee. I usually like my banana bread with milk, either with milk or with a cup of coffee. So this is what I ended up having the next day. This was pretty popular in my house last night, so half the loaf is already gone, as you can see, and I'm definitely going to make another loaf today. And like I said before, I'm going to put some nuts in it this time, and I definitely have more bananas to use up. So, but I'm just going to cut off a slice and pop it in the microwave and put some butter on it, and it's going to go perfectly with my coffee. If you make this dessert, let me know what you think. And also, let me know if you have a favorite cheap dessert that you like to make. Let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing what you guys make, and sometimes it gives me ideas for making things for myself, also for other viewers to see. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week.